taken so long for a Zambian youth to realize that business is a way to go?
Well, I think the biggest challenge that we've had is the kind of education system that we've had for some time. I'm aware that things are changing now. If you listen to some of the statements that are being made by the government, the Minister of Education, and other relevant authorities, I think quite a number of changes are taking place in our education system. But by the time that I went to school, there was very little that was being talked about entrepreneurship, and the main emphasis was doing very well at grade 12 so that you can go to the University of Zambia or go to Copperbelt University and then get into formal employment and excel in your career. There was very little that was being talked about entrepreneurship. So most of the people that were going into entrepreneurship, especially in the informal sector, most of them were people that didn't do very well in terms of their education. So I think that is where the biggest problem was in the past, and I'm glad that now, if you listen to most of the government officials, relevant authorities, the Minister of Education, I think they are doing a commendable job to change that particular system.
And do you think entrepreneurship would work for somebody who is not in some sort of a formal employment and who is relying on that particular business? Do you think entrepreneurship would work for such a person?
I think entrepreneurship can work for anyone, literally anyone. Um, the only secret that is there is that all of us need to realize what we can do best, what we can do very well. There are some people that could be in formal employment, and they believe that there is nothing much they can do apart from just being in formal employment. But there is a very good possibility that somebody that is in formal employment can actually look at themselves, look at the skills that they have, look at what they are passionate about, and move from just depending on a job that is in the formal sector and move into the informal sector. And I believe that it doesn't matter. Each and every one of us, God has actually blessed each and every one of us with certain skills, certain abilities that we can use to help others first, and then also earn a living out of it.
Indeed. And when you're talking about, entrepreneurship being or working literally for everyone, it's a blunt statement. It's a good statement because it gives or it instills confidence in somebody who is thinking of getting into entrepreneurship. Now, obviously, the next question that is definitely knocking on the door is, what particular skills should Nelson really have for him to be successful as an entrepreneur?
I think the most important thing is to know what your calling is. You need to know who you are as an individual firstly, because not everybody can be in trading. Because when somebody says I want to start a business or I want to become an entrepreneur, the first thing that comes to the mind to the minds of most people is the fact that you need to get into trading of some kind. But it's not like that. You may not be in trading. You may have just one particular skill. You might be a journalist. You might be a very good writer, and you can actually use that particular skill to your advantage. We know of so many people that are media correspondents, people that are using the skill that God gave them to generate revenue. So it's not necessarily just going into trading, but it's something that you can do even as an individual just by using the skill that God has actually given to you.
For how long have you been doing? Have you been in this field?
My main line, my main field is finance, business and finance, but I mostly focus on the finance part. And I've been working as an accountant for more than 10 years, and I've assisted quite a number of other entrepreneurs that are running smaller businesses, specifically in the area of finance. And I've also been doing a few other things here and there, including trading. I own a small business where I conduct some trade. I'm not there all the time. I'm not there most of the time, but somebody assists me, And then I've got quite a number of skills. I should say that God blessed me, just like many other people out there. God has blessed me with a number of other skills which I utilize to help other people, number one, and also to generate a bit of revenue for myself.
In the line of work, in the line of your work, the work that you do is of particular interest to everyone who is running a business today, because I feel, from what I've seen and from what I've heard, the biggest challenge that Zambians have, or that most of the youth have, is developing that financial discipline needed for them to handle money, every little profit that comes in. And that is the line of your work.
Precisely.
How does somebody develop that particular skill of being financially disciplined? Because every business can only survive if somebody is able to get the money and keep it safely and possibly reinvest it. Not you get, you buy. You get, you buy.
Yeah, I should say that accounting or finance is the lifeblood of any business, and that is an area where you need to do very well. You may be able to do very well in many other areas. Let's say, for example, in your marketing, you may do well in your selling, you may do well in many other areas, human resource, and your production. You might be offering a very good service or a very good product. But if you are not doing very well financially, if you do not know how to handle your finances very well, your business is still bound to fail. So, if accounting or the financial aspect of your business is the most important part of your business, it's the lifeblood of your business, then you have an obligation as an entrepreneur, you have an obligation as a business person to make sure that you gather as much information, as much knowledge as possible on how best you can handle the financial affairs of your business. You don't have to be an accountant for you to handle your financial affairs very well. You don't have to be a finance person. In fact, you can actually learn. There are many ways, and today it is very easy to learn how to do most of the things around. Just with the click of a button, in fact, information that you're looking for will always be readily available. So one of the things that you can do is to make a deliberate effort to collect materials that can help you to develop a very good understanding on how you can manage the financial affairs of your business. And then secondly, as you are growing, you may not be able to do everything yourself as an entrepreneur or as a business person. From time to time, you need to bring in other people that are specialized in that particular area. Just like you might want to bring in somebody that can help you in terms of your HR, in terms of your selling and distribution and marketing as well. Finance is an area where you can actually even engage somebody to help you. They may not be working for you full time, but from time to time they can actually come in to advise you and to help you to put your books in order. And outsourcing is actually one of the techniques, one of the methods that you can use, which is very cost effective, because you have one person that is coming in from time to time, and they charge you very little for that.
All right, and talking about that, you reminded me of another important aspect that I feel is supposed to be considered, especially when the business is now developing. At what stage can somebody bring in others to assist in terms of running that business? Could it be at the startup or at what stage?
It depends on the needs that you have as a business person or as an entrepreneur. Because sometimes you might be starting up, you're just starting up, but the needs that you have and the way you have started, you could have started at a higher level, you've invested in a huge amount of money, a huge amount of capital, and at that particular point you will need professionals, you need people that are going to assist you to run your business. Let's say, for example, you've opened up a production plant. You cannot do without people assisting you in that particular production facility. You cannot do without having a finance person and accountant. You just need to have those people assisting you. But then sometimes you might have started at a lower level. It might be a business that you are starting at, which is quite small, and you may not be able to afford bringing in other people to assist you. So in that particular case, you will need to do most of the things on your own. But as the business begins to grow, then you can think of bringing in other people.
Well said. Now, there is always one important aspect that usually discourages most of the youths really to get into a business, apart from marketing and also apart from knowing what to sell and all that. There is also an issue of capital here. To be specific, financial capital. If you would ask most of the youth today, they would tell you, would really love to get into business, but we do not have money to start that business. Even when you tell them to go and acquire a loan, they'll tell you, well, they need mortgage, they need something
Precisely.
to hold on, they need collateral, of which that is the reality that is on the ground.
Yeah.
Exactly. In other countries, well, youth are given free collateral loans, but in Zambia, there's no free collateral loan. You need
Precisely.
a collateral. How does somebody who is just having that idea of what to sell, idea of what business to do, how do they acquire that capital? How do they get that money? Where do they get that money?
I think the most important thing is to start where you are. Because a lot of people I have noticed when they are complaining about capital, they have very big business ideas and they need a lot of money to start. Literally everybody, our viewers that are watching us, yourself, myself included, we've got very big business ideas and would want to, source some money to invest into those particular ventures or those plans that we have. But the most important thing is to start where you are. Start with the little that you have. I have a friend that just got in touch with me, and he would like to do a small business, but he's in a situation where he's been in full-time employment before for a long time, and he's just getting out of full-time employment, and he has just realized that there isn't anything much he can do. It's not easy to find a job out there, and then now he wants to get into a business, and it's not the first time that this particular individual is doing that. So in that particular case, this is a person that was handling quite a substantial amount of money for a period of time. They did not think of starting a business. They waited until they had literally nothing, and then that's when they want to begin a business. So you might be in full-time employment. That 1,000 kwacha you are getting might appear to be a very small amount of money, but somebody out there is just looking for that particular 1,000 kwacha to start up a business. There are other people that might be getting 10, 15, 20,000 kwacha. They are not starting up with their businesses. They are waiting until they are in a situation where they do not have anything. That's when now they'll begin of thinking to start up a business. So they'll be telling you things like, I want to do a chicken run. Help me to get some financing. Help me to do a business proposal. But you don't need a business proposal to do something like a chicken run. It is something that you can begin from a lower level, unless maybe when you begin to grow, and then you might want to look at other alternative sources of finance. And one thing that I should mention, Nelson, is the fact that most of the financial institutions that we have in Zambia, banks and other financial institutions, microfinance, and other institutions that lend out money, most of them do not lend out to businesses that are starting up. They don't lend to startups. The reasons are quite obvious. A research was done, and it was actually concluded that most of the people, when they are starting their business for the first time, 80% of them will actually fail. But then when you begin again, you have a better chance of succeeding. So most of the institutions that we have around do not lend to startups. So which makes matters a little bit tricky. But when you start on your own at a smaller level and you begin to grow your business, there are a lot of finance institutions that can actually come in to help you, because you will also have to demonstrate that if this particular financial institution invested some money into your business, you need to demonstrate that your business is capable of utilizing those funds to generate income for yourself, and also at the same time to pay back the monies that you would have borrowed from that particular financial institution.
Now, Mr. Kafanka, is it advisable to start a business on borrowed money?
It is not advisable. It is not. As a financial advisor, in fact, I advise people to start their business on their own without borrowing. There are a number of cases where people have actually borrowed money and they have started up their businesses and things have gone on, but it is not advisable to actually start on borrowed funds. The best that you can do is to start up on your own. Even just the levels of commitment when you borrow funds from another person, you haven't really worked for the money that you've been given. So the levels of commitment may not be that much. So I think the most important thing is to make sure that you begin where you are. Begin with the little resources that you have. In financial terms, there is what we call gearing, which the bank will also look at. We call it the gearing ratio. This is simply the proportion of the debt that you have as a business person compared to the total assets of your business. So most of the banks, they will look at that. They will look at how much is your business worth, okay? And they will look at the liabilities that you have. So let's say, for example, your business is worth 100,000 kwacha. That is the total worth of your business in terms of your assets as well, But then the amount of debt that you have exceeds 50%. You're talking about 70-80% debt, meaning that your net assets are only about 20% of the total value of your business. Most of the financial institutions out there would not want to fund such kind of a business. Most of them will be looking forward to having an applicant who has a gearing ratio of not more than 35-40%. So meaning that the other 75%, you will need to finance that you need to find the funds on your own. So it is very important to begin at a smaller level. Utilize the resources that you have. If you are in full-time employment, utilize the earnings that you are receiving. If you are in full-time employment, sometimes you might have access to loans, advances, and things. Those are the funds that can actually help you to start up. You do not have to wait until you lose your job, until you don't have any other source of income for you to start up your business.
Having said so, then what is the usage of getting a loan when you have started business on your own and that business seems to be, well, growing, though at a snail's pace or at a tortoise pace, but at least minimal growth is there? What is the usage of getting a loan then?
To expand your business, as simple as that. Because you have started at a smaller level and your business is doing very well, you are making profits. They may not be huge profits, but your business is doing very well. You have established yourself in terms of your clients. You have enough clients that are coming in, and you have realized that if you just grew the scale of your business, you'll be able to make more. So that's when you bring in a loan, and most of the financial institutions will actually be looking at that. Most of them will demand for your financial statements. They want to look at your balance sheet. They want to look at your cash flow statement. And some of them will ask for your bank statements. They will ask you to bring bank statements for maybe the past 1 year or the past 6 months. In short, they are trying to look at how your business has been performing and to make a projection. It's easy when you're looking at the actual financial statements of a small business that may not be doing very, very well, a business that is not big, but you can make a projection from there. So bringing in capital, or rather borrowing, getting a loan from somewhere, will help you to grow faster.
All right, wow, that's quite interesting there. Okay, so if you're running a business, wow, you need to know exactly when to get that loan and where to get that loan as well. But obviously, like Mr. Kafanka has pointed out openly, it's important that you get your loan at the correct time. Now, the situation that we have here, the situation that has been presented to us, most of us, is that we always want to get a loan to start a business. But I wonder if we do have an institution in Zambia that could definitely finance an idea. I think they would rather finance a business than an idea. Now, Mr. Kafanka, let's also get now to the other phase of our discussion here. Before I even come at national level, maybe at individual level, how do we sustain our debt? How do we make sure that we are effective in terms of paying debts? Because getting money is one thing, and also paying back the money is another thing. And the hardest thing that a person always experiences is paying back a debt. The little that comes, you have to make sure that it goes. And most of these loans that we get, they're actually on monthly basis. We have to pay on monthly debts.
Yeah. I think one of the things that you can actually do for you to be able to pay back your debt, for you to be able to manage your debt very well, is to make sure that before you even get a debt, before you borrow money, before you get a loan from the bank, you need to analyze your cash flows. How are your cash flows? And then you need to also make sure that when you are borrowing, you do not overborrow. There is what is known as debt ratio. Every time you're borrowing money from the bank, in fact, the bank will also even advise you. They will tell you that we do not want to be in a situation where we are collecting more than 40% of the revenues that are coming into your business. We only want to collect 40% or less, so that you can still remain with enough to generate more revenue and continue repaying the loan. So the first and most important thing that you need to do is to make sure that you do not overborrow. You make sure that you borrow within your limits. Don't overborrow. And then the next thing that you can also do to make sure that you do not default on your payments is to make sure that every time you are borrowing funds, you make sure that those funds that you are borrowing will be utilized to generate more funds. They will be utilized to generate more income. A lot of people will borrow funds and then just use it for consumption, which is not the ideal scenario. So the ideal scenario should be you get a loan, invest it in your business so that it can generate more funds to pay back your loan.
Okay, and talking about payments and also talking about generating income. What am I supposed to pay here? When I get a loan and I put it in my business,
Yes.
is it the profit that I'm getting that I'm supposed to be paying to be using to pay back the loan, or I should find other means?
The funds that you're going to be paying, they are more like an expense to your business. Okay, they are an expense. Even when you are accounting for them, you
Mhm.
account for them as an expense. There is what we call finance costs. They'll be included in your financials. You're not paying from your profit. Profit is another thing altogether. Profit, these are the funds that are available now for you to utilize if you want to consume or you want to reinvest or to invest in other business ventures. That is after taking care of the finance expenses, the finance costs that will normally come. So this is something that you should also be able to plan for. So when you're getting a loan from the bank, make sure that you have done your projections right. You have even included that particular expense in your financials, and you're able to tell that if I repay this much to a bank, if I pay, let's say for example, 5,000 kwacha repayment every month, how will my financials look like? Will I still be able to make enough profit to continue running?
All right, so that's quite interesting. When we come back, we also want to look at how you can sustain your business, how you can also overcome some of the nickels and the small challenges that your business might be encountering as well. And we also want to look at debt sustainability at national level as well. As you know, it's not at individual level that that we do get loans, but even at national level, as we speak right now, Zambia has got quite a lot of loans and of course quite a lot of debt that we need to sustain and also pay as well. But looking at our economy as well, are we able to sustain that? Do we still need to get more? What are we supposed to do? So those are some of the items that we're definitely going to look at. But for now, we take a break. We'll be back shortly.
Turn it up.
Look it down low.
Turn it up. Turn it up. The Hype.
It could have been no one night stand. Go teacher broadcast kolo.
If you haven't heard of Zalile, catch the very best of local music videos live every Saturday at 17 hours. Only on QTV.
QTV brings to you a show taking you on an exciting roller coaster as you meet remarkable people from all walks of life, sharing their extraordinary life stories, arts, entertainment, lifestyle. Join Marvelous, Sipokazi, Lucia, and Kirsty on the new and exciting magazine show, 54.
All right, so welcome back. In case you've missed the first part of the show, the interview or the discussion is actually based on financial discipline and running a successful business from the word go to where you want to reach. And of course, my guest is Mr. Blessings Kafunga, who is an entrepreneur. He is also a financial personnel as well. So he is just trying to take us through financial issues because it is a backbone of every business. Business without financial skills definitely crumbles. Now, Mr. Kafunga, let's get to the other aspect here. During the lifespan of a business, how many times should somebody acquire a loan to keep on financing a business?
Well, I wouldn't say that there is a specific number of times that somebody can get a loan to continue running, but you can get a loan. You can get a loan at any time. You can get it as much as you want, but the most important thing is just to make sure that you don't borrow. Like I said earlier on, there is what is known as gearing, and you need to make sure that your gearing does not exceed 40%. You want to make sure that at least 60% of the assets of the business are yours. You own them. You know, we've seen this with even bigger corporate institutions. They make sure that they do not overborrow, because if you overborrow, you borrow 60% of the total value of your business are liabilities. You become a high-risk institution. You know, even when you want to go and borrow some more, the bank will look at your balance sheet. If your liabilities are more than 50%, they are going in the region of 70, 80%, they know that this is a high-risk institution, and we may not want to finance this institution. But then if your liabilities are below 30%, you're talking about 15, 20%, the bank can actually refinance the loan. They can give you a loan today, and within a short period of time, if you need more funds to invest in you, they'll be more willing to give you, because the risk that is involved isn't that much.
I've seen a situation where a business is not performing so well and somebody opts to go for a loan to bring it back on track. Could that be also another good reason of getting a loan?
Well, yes, it is. It is. But you need also to be very careful to make sure that your cash flows are also doing very, because there are some cases where somebody is doing very well, the business is doing okay, they are making profits, but then their cash flows are not okay. There is a very big difference between profit, accounting profit, and cash flow. You might be making very good profits, but your cash flows may not be very good. Okay, I'll give you a very good example of a small trader, somebody that is maybe in the business of um, traveling to South Africa, for example, or China. They bring in their goods and they sell them on credit. You know, they don't receive cash payments for their product. They have to wait for 2-3 months. Okay, so meaning that the moment you give out your goods, the moment you sell your goods, you record them in your books of accounts as a sale. You have made a sale, but then the cash hasn't actually come in. So meaning that at the end of the month, you are going to record a profit. You can make a very good profit, but because the cash has not come in, it becomes tricky for you to continue running. You know, so those are the cases where you see somebody going to get another loan on the belief that, okay, I've already made a lot of profit. It's just that people are still holding on to my money. So you also need to be very careful to make sure that the cash flow position of your business should also be doing very well.
Interesting. Obviously, government has a department or a sector that looks at financing. Could be business ideas or could be business that are already running. And we also have departments such as the CEEC
That's right.
that looks
That's
at giving, obviously, the youths, trying to help the youths get started. At least with them, it's about getting started.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
Now, for somebody to acquire finances from such institutions, they always need to present what we call a business plan. Yes.
Precisely.
But now the issue of writing a business plan has been also another huge challenge for most of the youths out there. When we talk about a business plan, what are we simply talking about?
You're basically talking about a plan that is going to firstly describe what business activity you want to go into. A business plan is going to give details on how you're going to conduct your business. It's going to also include financial projections so that you can have estimates of how much money you expect to receive. You know, and the person that is having a look at your business plan then will get a very good idea to say, okay, this is a feasible business idea. We've seen other people, running the same business, or sometimes maybe it's a new idea that they've not seen before, but at least they'll be able to gauge and see whether this business is feasible and whether the amount of money that you want to borrow is suitable for that particular business. So I think it is very important that entrepreneurs out there should also learn how to plan for their business. Sometimes you may not have, I know of a lot of people that have got very good business ideas. We've got people that have never been to school, but they've got brilliant business ideas. So the challenge now comes into say, how do they access some of those funds from some of these institutions like the CEC, for example, that will demand that you write a business plan. They will demand that you submit cash flows and a number of other issues. And you are not very, very literate, but you've got a very good, a very solid business idea. You know, so it becomes very important then that this particular person, this individual should either, number one, acquire the skills to write that business plan, or they should also be able to partner up with somebody that can assist them in that particular area. I have personally done that, where I partner up with some people that are not able to put their ideas on paper. You sit down, you write your ideas on paper, and then at least it will give you an opportunity now to have a document that you can submit to these institutions and get your financing.
And once you submit that document, when, let's say, finances have been released and you've been given the finances, every time that you are running that business, is it mandatory that you're supposed to go back to the document and check whether you're moving along with the business plan that you submitted, or it's just a plan that only tells a vision?
Yeah, there are a lot of cases where you go to this institution, you go to this company, a small company, and then they will show you their business plan. Oh, this is our business plan. But then when you look at what they are doing, is completely different from what they had actually planned to do. Which is not a very good picture, which is not a very good scenario. And that's the reason why most financial institutions do not finance startups, because you get money from a financial institution today, and the next day you spend it on something else that is completely different from what you had stated in your business plan. So I think it is very important to make sure that you stick to your business plan. But then the other thing that you also need to be aware of is that these plans are not they should not be cast in stone. You can project to say for the next 5 years, for the next 5 years, this is what I want to do. You do what is known as a strategic plan. A strategic plan is simply a plan that covers a longer period of time. So it's usually maybe for about 5 years or even 10 years. Okay, so you would have planned for the next 5 years to say this is what I am going to do. But then there are a lot of changes that take place in our business environment. A number of influences. You can talk about the political environment. A lot of changes that are taking place in that area. So your business plan should not be cast in concrete. It's not like you cannot change certain aspects of your business plan. You can change, but the most important thing is to make sure that stick to your business plan. And if things are changing, revise your business plan depending on what is going on in your environment. You might have planned to say, this is what I'll be doing. I'll be traveling to China to bring in these goods. And then all of a sudden, the demand, or rather the fashion changes, or people don't need those gadgets. If it's a phone, phones are always changing. If it's clothes, fashion is always changing. And sometimes you might have a supplier or a manufacturer that will come to manufacture those same goods locally. So meaning that your initial idea of traveling to go and buy those goods from outside may not be able to work in that particular case. So it should be flexible.
Indeed, flexible. Now, I'm also trying to look at various forms of businesses that people are currently engaged in. But my main point is, or my main question could be, these businesses where you start a business, you've seen somebody doing this business, and they introduce you to that business. It's a prolific business. It's a well-to-do business. It's doing very well. For example, a clothing business. You go to Dar, you get clothes. You go to South Africa, you get clothes. When you bring those clothes, you definitely put them on hire purchase. You give people out, waiting on a month end for you to get your money back. How sustainable are those businesses?
Personally, I don't think that is very sustainable. I know of a number of people that are doing that. I think they are doing very well, but then there are still others that are not doing very well. If you look at some of our friends that our friends from the Asian business community, you discover that there are very few that would actually sell their goods on credit. They would rather not sell than sell on credit, okay, because of the same issues of cash flow. Your cash flow position will be affected. Of course, you make your sales, but then you will not be able to reorder. You will not be able to restock your shop. You will not be able to collect your funds to reinvest back into your business. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. So that is the reason why I believe it is very important that either you sell on cash basis, or you make sure that you establish very good relationships and make sure that you put in certain mechanisms to ensure that your cash is collected. And then the other thing is that there are certain businesses that look very attractive. This business looks very attractive. Somebody else is doing it and it's working. But then you decide to do the same business because somebody else has been doing it. You discover that some people might actually fail. You have somebody that travels to Dar es Salaam, they bring in some things, and their business seems to be doing fine. You try the same business today, it fails. So sometimes just because somebody else is doing it does not mean that it will always work for you. It is also very important for you to make sure that you do a comprehensive market research. Learn from the people that have done it before. You do not have to make all the mistakes. There are some people that have traveled to South Africa, for example. They bring in some things, and then they didn't do well in the beginning because of certain mistakes that they made in the process, and they learned from those mistakes, and they were able to sharpen their business skills. So meaning that you as an individual, you do not have to make the mistakes that your colleagues made. You can simply approach your colleagues that are doing very well in that particular area. Learn from them. What mistakes should you avoid, and how can you make sure that you do not fall into the same trap that they fell in? So it helps you.
Let's come to the national level. Obviously, our country, it's not really a secret. I think we've had a number of times when we've gotten loans from outside. Some of these loans we even failed to pay them. Others we have paid them. It was just recently when Minister of Finance Felix Mutati did indicate about the loan, about the credit situation in Zambia.
Yeah.
As a financial expert and as somebody who looks at such issues, how best do we handle these loans and credits that the country has generated so far? How do we sustain them?
One thing that I should mention, Nelson, is the fact that borrowing is not a problem. All of us borrow from the individual level, small business level, large corporate institutions, and even national level. Borrowing is always it's always there. It's normal to borrow and invest in certain activities that will enable you to generate funds. Even the countries that are doing very well. Talk about the United States of America. They owe huge sums of money. Talk about China and many other countries. They are owing huge sums of money. But the secret, just like I said earlier on, at a small scale, make sure that you do not overborrow. And even at the national level, I think it's the same principle that should also apply. Do not overborrow. When you look at our current debt levels, when you look at the Eurobonds that we've been accumulating for the past, I think, slightly more than 5 years ago, the first Eurobond that we issued out was in 2012. There was a 750 million US dollars. There was another 1 billion that was issued in 2014, and then there was another 1.25 billion issued in 2015, and quite a number of other borrowings that we did domestically as well. So our debt levels have actually grown, and when you look at the way our currency has been performing in comparison to other major convertible currencies like the US dollar, you discover that our currency is not performing very well, which means that the amounts that we are owing now have gone very high, and from my perspective, I think the debt position that we are in at the moment is clearly not sustainable. There's a statement that is attributed to the Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Felix Mutati, who actually indicated during the course of last week that there is a very good possibility that Zambia might actually default on the repayment of the Eurobond that is supposed to fall due in 2020. And for me, that is a clear-cut indication to show that our debt levels are unsustainable, and I think it is very important for us to make sure that we slow down on borrowing. Yes, is okay, but at the moment, looking at our current debt levels, I think we are not doing very, very well. I think we need to slow down or just completely stop.
And when we stop, yes, we slow down, we stop. But there's an issue of paying back the loan.
Precisely.
I think for every Zambian, including the government itself, including the Republican president himself, the biggest question here is how do we pay back the money?
Precisely. There was, I'm sure you heard about the sinking fund, which is an idea that our government came up with. And I took time to listen to that idea. The former minister of, the former spokesperson for the government at that time, Honorable Chishimba Kamuli, I think did explain it very well. And it made a lot of sense to me. And I bought into that idea to say, okay, I think that's a very good idea. That's a very good plan on how these particular funds will be paid back. Now, time has passed, and we've heard that they are doing away with the sinking fund. And the belief is that instead of putting these funds aside for repaying the Eurobonds when they fall due, let us get these funds and invest them into some income generating activities, ventures that will generate more income for us to pay back the Eurobonds. Now, for me, that I don't think that is a very, very good idea, because it's the same thing that we are doing. We issued those Eurobonds on the belief that we'll be able to invest these funds in infrastructure and a number of other projects here and there, and then those funds will put us in a better position to repay the Eurobonds. That's more than 5 years ago when we got the first Eurobond. And when you look at the position where we are at right now, financially, you discover that we are still not doing very well. And that's the reason why even the Honorable Minister of Finance was actually able to admit to say there is a good possibility that we may not be able to pay the first Eurobond that will fall due in 2020. So for me, I think the government needs to come up with a very good idea, which should be better than the sinking fund, instead of just being overly optimistic to say that instead of putting these funds aside, let us invest them in other income generating activities and generate. I think for me that is being overly optimistic, and that is exactly what we did in the past. We were overly optimistic to say if we invest these funds into our system, then we will increase our capacity, our ability to generate revenue. So for me, I think it is very important that as a nation, as a country, we should come up with a concrete plan on how we are going to repay back these Eurobonds.
At an individual level and at a national level, finally, is it okay to get a loan to finance another loan to pay back another loan? For example, you've got a loan of 10,000 kwacha. You go to somebody else, you get a loan for 20,000 kwacha, so that you can get the 10,000, you pay the other loan.
It works. It works at an individual level. People have done that. It works. It's actually one of the strategies that certain countries, even in the past, have actually used, refinancing the loan. Because you're not able to pay at that particular time, you might want to refinance it. It works, but I don't think we need to wait until we get to that level. And there's a saying that if you do not understand your history, if you do not know your history, then your history is likely to repeat itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When you look back in the history of our nation, Zambia, and even just in the history of the world, there was a debt crisis in the 1970s, 1980s, which was caused by quite a number of factors. There was issue of the foreign commodity prices, copper, gold, and other commodities, and then there was also an increase in fuel prices. But one of the main reasons that led to the crisis of the 1980s is a desire by developing countries, a desire by developing nations such as Zambia to develop very quickly by borrowing heavily and investing in huge infrastructure development, believing that when the infrastructure is up, they'll be able to generate enough revenue to pay back them. And that led to a debt crisis. Okay, and most of the countries used a number of strategies in order to sort out that particular challenge that arose, and one of them was refinancing, where you get another loan, and sometimes you can even reschedule. Instead of repaying it in the next 5 years, you reschedule to pay it maybe in the next 10 years, but then that means you will be paying more in terms of interest. So for me, I think we also need to learn from the past. When you look at the previous administrations that were there, for example, the late Levy Patrick Manawasa, I think they had learned from history, and they did not go the debt way. They decided to repay off the debt and start on a clean slate. But at the moment, it's like we have chosen to ignore what happened in the past, and we are getting back to the same trap of believing that if we borrow and do up the roads and make sure that the country is opened up, then we'll be able to generate enough revenue. And that is a strategy that was used in the past, and it did not work very, very well. So infrastructure on its own is not a problem. We need roads. We enjoy driving on the roads. We enjoy going to some of the hospitals that have been done in the rural area. It's good, but I think it is also very important to make sure that we do not overborrow. We also need to make sure that we should not be in a hurry to develop very quickly. And the other issue that I also wanted to bring up, Nelson, is the issue of the current challenges that we are facing at the moment. You know that as a country we've been experiencing persistent budget deficits for some time now. We are not doing very well, meaning that our expenses are more than our revenues. Even now, if you look at the speech that the Honorable Minister of Finance gave in Parliament last week when he was doing his State of the Economy address, he actually did indicate that from the beginning of the year up to now, we have already, we are already in a deficit, meaning that we are not collecting enough. But then when you look at some of the policies that the government introduced at the beginning of this year, there's what they are calling the Zambia Plus Economic Recovery Program. I believe that is a very good plan. I went through that document personally, and I think there are quite a number of things that can actually help us to get back on the right track. But then when you compare the implementation of that particular document, look at what is you compare that plan with what is happening on the ground. I think there is a bit of a discrepancy that we need to work on. Okay.
So where is that discrepancy coming from? Or why is that discrepancy coming in?
It's very simple, Nelson. When you look at the revenue side, because when you talk about fiscal consolidation, you're simply talking about harmonizing your revenues and your expenses. Make sure that you do not spend more than what you are.
While you're earning.
Yeah. If I was to borrow the words of the Minister of Finance, Honorable Mtati, he says we cannot spend what we do not have. Those are the words of the minister. Okay. So that is fiscal consolidation. Now, when we started this year, quite a number of changes were made to the income tax regime. Quite a number of changes were made to the tax regime. Okay, right now you and I are paying more in terms of taxes. People that are in formal employment, they are paying more because even the tax bands were revised. The last band previously was at 35%. Now it's at 37%, 37.5%. Okay, there is turnover tax. The turnover tax regime has been changed as well. There are some bands that have been added. We are paying excise duty on talk time. So in terms of revenue generating, in terms of raising funds locally, I think we are not doing poorly in that particular area. And there was also evidence from the Zambia Revenue Authority. I think their corporate communications officer, senior corporate communications officer, was actually quoted by the media saying that they had exceeded their targets by 3.3%. Clearly, we are doing well in that particular area. We may not be doing as we would like to, but at least I think in that particular area there's a bit of some improvement. But on the expense side, I believe that is where we are not doing very, very well. Because if we are going to be implementing these austerity measures, these are actually known as austerity measures. We are just trying to make sure that we increase revenue generating and reduce on the expenses. So now on the expense side, I think we are not doing very, very well because we've seen quite a number of huge infrastructure projects that are coming up, and those are projects that it may not be the best idea to embark on those projects, especially when you are implementing austerity measures. We have seen quite a number of other things that were not planned for, which people are talking about. We've seen, I've heard about the recent debate about whether or not we should build a new state house. I've listened to the arguments. The people that are proposing, it's a very good idea. It's a very good idea. They'll give you compelling reasons as to why we need to have a new state house. But then when we look at the bigger picture, how are we performing as an economy? Have we been able to generate enough revenue, firstly, even just to take care of our needs? No, because most of the needs that we have as a country, they are being financed through borrowing. So it may not be a very good idea for us to continue on that path. I think it is very important that as a nation we should kind of like slow down on infrastructure development and concentrate on making sure that we increase our revenue generating capacity so that we can reach fiscal consolidation, and then we begin to pay off some of the debts that we've been accumulating in the recent past.
Well, Mr. Kasanka, it's been nice really talking to you on these financial issues. I think I'm beginning to learn quite a lot in terms of financial consolidation, why it's important that at an individual level and at a national level we also minimize on borrowing, especially at the national level, especially bearing in mind that we have got 3 euro bonds that we need to pay. And I would also agree whether the first one will be paid, because obviously we need to look at the immediate one we just got.
Precisely.
Exactly. So possibly even the last question that I did ask of getting a loan to finance another loan, I'm not sure if it's a good idea at this level. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming, and hopefully that another time we knock at your office, you'll be definitely available like today.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Nelson.
Thank you so much. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, those are some of the tic-tacs. Those are some of the important issues that you need to know. Those are some of the important financial issues that you need to know, especially if you want to venture into business. And you need to make sure that you're mindful of borrowing, get a loan if you really need it. Don't get a loan when you want it. Get a loan when you need it. And make sure that you also get a loan for the right purpose and use it for the right purpose as well. So those are some of the few things that you need to know. I hope that Mr. Kasanka has definitely answered most of the questions that you could have asked on such issues as well. Now, recently we had an event that took place last weekend. It was a fashion and a modeling event, and I'm glad to be joined by a contestant who definitely managed to get the first princess position as well. So she will definitely be joining us shortly. But for now, we go for a break. We'll be back shortly.
Turn it up.
Look it down low.
Turn it up. Turn it up. The Hype.
It could have been no one night stand. Go to Chabadkas Kolo.
If you haven't heard of Zalile, catch the very best of local music videos live every Saturday at 17 hours. Only on QTV.
QTV brings to you a show taking you on an exciting roller coaster as you meet remarkable people from all walks of life, sharing their extraordinary life stories, arts, entertainment, lifestyle. Join Marvelous, Sipokazi, Lucia, and Kirsty on the new and exciting magazine show, 54. Follow three married couples on the challenging journey of marriage life today.
I told you that I was going to go and talk to him.
Witness as they cascade through day-to-day issues in a home.
And just where do you think you're going?
Don't miss Shipikisha Club, Tuesdays at 20:30 on QTV. Experience home.
Turn it up.
Look it down low.
Turn it up. Turn it up. The Hype.
It could have been no one night stand. Go to Chabadkas Kolo.
If you haven't heard of Zalile, catch the very best of local music videos live every Saturday at 17 hours. Only on QTV.
All right, so we get to the last part of the show today, and I'll be talking to a model who definitely took part in Model with a Brand event that took place over the weekend, while we saw different designers and, of course, the different personalities as well come through. The event was held at Evelyn Hunt College, and of course we saw two image winners, a lady and of course a gentleman as well. So it was Miss and of course Mr. as well. The two will be hosted obviously tomorrow or the other day as well. We'll be making those efforts just to make sure that we bring them on board. But for now, we'll be talking to one of the top three exactly in the ladies category. Mwaka Sly is one of the contestants, and definitely she was crowned as the first princess, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. So obviously people would want to know exactly how was the event all in terms of organization, planning and everything for you.
Okay, we were caught on a short notice, so to say, but the event was great. The organizer, despite the short time that he had to put everything in place to see to it that all went well, like on a Friday. Otherwise, with the organization, it was on point, and the sponsors as well, they did their part, so it was all okay.
I was expecting to see you with the crown.
The crown, this is my bracelet that I was given from
Okay.
it, since it was a tradition thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we only focused about tradition, not this modern world and stuff. It was only tradition. So we were given some bracelet, the one I'm wearing, and for the king and the queen as well. And for the top three, we had for the awards, we had the trophies. Yeah, so we were given some trophies, and the top five, some certificates, as well as the top 10 as well. They were given some bouquets, products of Movic Zambia, and Infinity as well for the top 15. So we were 22, and top 15 were picked.
Oh, top 15 were picked.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So for you, how was the competition?
The competition was tight. Not to lie, the competition was tight because we had some designers who were taking part as well, and some professional models, and for a beginner it was tight for me, so to say.
Oh, I didn't know that you put yourself as a beginner. I thought you were actually among the top.
Then, no, I'm a beginner, but what I've come to understand in modeling is that whichever pageant that you're going to have or ever competition that you're doing, there is no beginner. The only thing that you need to do is to stay focused and know what you are doing and why you are there. Because for me, I looked down on myself when I was picked that I'm a beginner and we're having some top models and designers taking part. Again, Mom had to tell me, she motivated me saying, you're doing that not for them, but for your future, because you are there as a model and you are there as an individual. So you are not in groups for you to say, no, that group, maybe they have some professionals or what. So for the fact that you're a model, be ready to take anything that comes for you. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Amazing, amazing. Now, when you were getting into this competition, did it ever cross your mind that possibly you could win the position of first princess, or any position?
My target was to be in the top 10, not 15. Yeah,
Okay.
because as we were told, the top 10 will be having some assignments and different programs. So for me, even if I was not going to make to the first princess or the queen or something like that, I wanted to be in the top 10. That was my target. And as we were racing, I started having that feeling that no, okay, I'm getting there. Yeah, so I just had to put more effort. Instead of me targeting my top 10, I reduced to the top 5 as well. Yeah, so that was my target. And because I'm signed on an agency, NAFLA, so from NAFLA, we were 5 of us participating. So from the 5, the manager had to say, you can all be picked, but not everyone is going to be a winner. So from you yourselves, don't compete amongst those that you are competing against there, but compete amongst yourselves so that we can see what are we doing as NAFLA. So for me, again, I had 2 challenges, to compete with the group and from my team as well.
Okay, so from your group,
Mm-hmm.
how do you rate the improvement, the development of other models that you are competing against, who happen to be in your same family? You are all NAFLA models.
Yeah. Well, congratulations to them as well, because we made it to the top 10, all of us. Yeah. We had one guy and we were the 4 females from NAFLA. So all 4 females, we made it to the top 10, and to the top 5, we made it the 2 of us. So I'm proud of my family. We did a good job. Despite the 22 that we were, we managed by all means. We tried, we fought, so that we were at least in the top 10, and in the top 5 we were there, and we made our manager proud, I'm sure.
She must be a very, very proud person as well, having 2 in the last top 5. I think
Yeah,
it's an
because
amazing
the
job.
second princess was also from NAFLA.
Okay, so first princess and
Mhm.
second princess, all from the same group.
Yes.
Well, I think she must be a very, very proud manager.
Yeah.
So now, going forward, what is your next objective?
Well, I have a lot in mind and a lot to target, because the trophy that I got, I won't be reluctant with it because it's for a start. Yeah. So I'm planning to take part in different pageants so that I can see where I'm going, because I've chosen modeling to be my career as well. So I want to fight and to put more effort from whatever that I'll be doing. I'm aiming to not just to be there as a top model or something, but I need to be a mentor for someone, for a beginner as well, like I am, for those beginners that are still looking down to themselves, so that they can see not even all professional models can make it, but also beginners can. So for me, I'm planning big.
Okay, you talked about mentorship here. Who is your mentor?
Myself. Yeah, I'm proud of myself. I won't point at anyone. Yeah. So
Who
I
inspires
motivate
you?
myself.
So you are a mentor.
Yes.
Okay. Who inspires you?
My daughter.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Great. Would you love your daughter to grow up and choose a career that the mother chose, being a model?
No. No worries.
Why wouldn't you love to go on and of course mentor your daughter to be a professional model as well?
Well, there are a lot of challenges and we face a lot. So it's a battle of the giants, and I'm sure
Your daughter wouldn't be a giant.
no. Maybe to something else, but not the career that
What
I'm
career
doing.
would you love to pick for your daughter?
My daughter, I would love her to be a teacher, a nurse, something like that, to be in healthy, yeah, saving lives, and a teacher, yeah, because
Why didn't you do that?
myself.
You decided to pick that. You decided to pick that for your daughter. Why didn't you also choose that for a career for yourself?
Well, I love teaching and I'm planning to pursue something in teaching as well. But for modeling is my first priority, then teaching is my second.
Okay,
Mhm.
and possibly just taking you to looking at the opinion of somebody who is close to your mom.
Mhm.
What career would you think she would have chosen for you?
Mom, she wanted me to be a nurse since I was growing up. Yeah, because I remember even the times that we had some careers day and stuff. should make an outfit for me for the doctors or a nurse, that duster coat, just like that. So even if she did that, since I was only a kid, there is nothing that I would do. I would wear it and present myself as a doctor or a nurse whenever we had the careers day, but it wasn't into me. Yeah, and I'm sorry to disappoint her because it's not part of me, and I wouldn't love to do something to impress her. And because for medicine, you are saving lives, and I would risk someone's life because I might try, because I don't even like to see someone who's sick. I get offended and I get scared. So I would run and let someone die, of which it wouldn't be something. Yeah, so I just had to let it be like that.
When you look at the modeling industry in Zambia, we've seen quite a lot of ladies of your age. I wouldn't really love to call you a girl, but ladies of your age who are doing very, very fine.
Yeah.
Do you think the future of our career as models is bright at this moment, looking at the pace at which this industry is moving?
Well, Zambia is not being supportive because I can't say we are growing. We might have talent, but for a fact that when they are not supporting us, it's hard for us to pursue our talents. So would love to urge whoever is listening from the main boards there, so that they can at least find a platform for us.
I've always asked models, what type of support do you need?
Support. We need support in all angles.
Give me two angles where you would need that support. Maybe the top board, as you put it,
No.
they do not know exactly what type
we
of
want.
support you need. So maybe it's best that you're open to them and you tell them to say, okay, what we need is this type of support. So what support would you love to get from the top board?
Well, like from my fellow Zambians, whenever we have like an event regarding modeling, you will find that maybe only 50 people, 60 are attending, and of which the whole is far from the number that they have picked. It's maybe a quarter from it, and they're not being supportive that way. And for football, yeah, we support. As models, we even go there, we support them to the maximum. So I would love to see, starting from the Zambians themselves, to attend at least maybe our beauty pageants and even some fashion shows that we have. Yeah, that's support that I'm talking about. And from the government, we have no one at least to teach us about what is supposed to be done. At least maybe they can make something, a platform for us as models, to find something for us so that we can be active. Because not only me is a model, because there is a lot of people there, they need something, at least maybe to find a platform for us to be meeting from there, so that we can be having some workshops to know that at least they have been supportive to us, so that we can learn something at the end of the day, how to pursue our careers and what must be done and don'ts, the do's and don'ts in modeling, because we have no one to mentor us. Whenever you want to do something, at least you pay them. We don't say that we can't pay, we can, but the way they do it, it's the other way around.
I was thinking you're going to mention of financial support.
Even that,
you are going
yeah,
to talk about, the
it's
top
a
board
priority.
giving financial
It's a priority.
support.
We
Now,
need it.
Maybe it's because the top board and other people that you made mention of haven't realized the importance of modeling, or maybe modeling itself isn't being handled with all seriousness it deserves. Look at how the support that football gets. Look at the support that sports gets. Okay, but maybe it's high time that you guys start working together, because according to my experience, you guys rarely even work together. So how do you expect Nelson, who is the Republican president today, to come and support you when you guys cannot support each other?
Okay, for us, since you've said that, we work on it. But we need them at least to give us a hand, so that at least we can find something to do with our careers. Because most of us, it's a career, but for others, it's a part-time thing. But all the same, we need it, the support from our fellow citizens and the government as well. Because I can't see it, truly. It's not happening in Zambia. Because when you see SA, the way they support modeling, it's something else. There are a lot of friends that I have on FB and stuff. Whenever they have a show, they post their pic and stuff. You can even see from the audience that no, they turned out in numbers. But for Zambia, it's just like you are showcasing something with your fellow youths. Yeah, then they forget like that. They don't see us to be.
Maybe give them a reason, to support you. I think where models get it wrong in Zambia is you haven't given stakeholders who can help you a reason to support you guys. For example, yes, we appreciate the fact that fashion designers have taken advantage of the modeling career in Zambia. The growing modeling career in Zambia by coming up with bags like the one that you have. The head covering like the one that you have, and of course other attires as well. And Zambians currently are appreciating that. But by the end of the day, fashion designers have given whoever is there to support them a reason to support. They've said, this is what we can produce by the end of the day. So if you could invest in us as well, we can give you this. But models, what is there that you can show us to say, okay, this is exactly what I can do? For example, look at an international level. When you go for an international level, look at the caliber of models that you compete with. For example, let's say we take you for Miss Heritage World or Miss World itself, and you're representing the country. Look at the caliber of models that you'll be competing against. But now when you come back to the models that we send us locally, you'd find that they don't even understand, first of all, the pageant itself that they're going to compete in. How do you expect me to render that assistance?
Because we don't have workshops for them to mentor us in that way, to guide us, to give us some guidelines. Because we need, whenever you're doing something, before an exercise, you need an example. So for Zambia, no, we don't have that. Because whenever you hear someone talking about something, or for a model to be there, you need at least to find someone who is going to push you. That's how it's working in Zambia. Without no one to push you, you cannot even blow as a model, as a beginner. So it goes with connection as well. So, like you have said that we are not supporting each other, it's high time the professionals, as they call themselves, to find time for the beginners as well. Because if we are organized like that, it would be simple for us to find something and to send it back to the government so that they can see to it that no, we are serious with what we're doing. Yeah. Because what I've seen is that we're not organized. Whenever you have something, you approach a professional model, she can give you an excuse, or him, he can give you an excuse. Instead of them to coach you or to give you some guidelines on the whereabouts of what they do. But for them, they'll give you an excuse of which maybe it's jealous. I don't know how it works like that. Maybe they are truly busy with their schedules, but we are not supporting each other. So if we find time to support each other as fellow models, I'm sure we can get there. We can even be able to tell someone that no, we are able to do this. Because as I know, a model is someone who is multi-talented. You are able to do anything or at every time, even if you've been caught unaware. You need to be ready as a model the way you know you see. Because whenever you be a model, you need to be ready for something that might come, whether it's negative or positive, because you stand for the people. So, as models, if you're organized, I'm sure we can get there and we can be able to convince the government with what we want, and they'll provide.
You need to do a lot of conviction. You need to convince the stakeholders, the government, and of course other parties that you'd really love to see them support, for them to render you that support. Now, we have big international pageants coming up, big international events coming up. If you were to be given an opportunity to choose one in which you'd love to take part in, which pageant would that be? Or which event would that be?
Any examples?
For example, we've got Miss Heritage International, Miss World coming up. We've got Miss. We have Miss Global coming up. If I was just to pick two, and Miss World and Miss Universe, or three, Miss World, Miss Heritage World, and Miss Universe, which one would you love to pick up?
Well, Miss World is big. It's a variety. I would go for that. And Miss Global as well. I love Global because it talks about cancer, and cancer has become something that is taking us as women. We are having some cervical cancer, and for us as Zambian, a lot has read about cancer. So I would love to take that one because I would love to at least find a platform for me to teach my fellow women about cancer and the causes and the dangers of it as well. so that they can try at least to descend from the things that are doing, e.g. the Sunko thing. Yeah. Because it has become vital. It's something like, it has become something that I'm seeing almost every day. So I would love to teach my fellow women, because I'm a woman in the making as well.
Mhm.
So I'd love to teach my fellow women about that and the dangers of it, so that at least we can find something to do about it, because I'm seeing it's growing like every day. It has become a fashion as well.
Sunko. Yeah, I remember the other time we had a strong debate on why women in Zambia today are now going for Sunko. What does Sunko really do? Any chemistry that is there between their body reaction and Sunko, and does it also activate their innermost passion, or does it give them strength to go on and do many rounds in bed
Yeah.
and all that? That is a debate that is there on social media, on various radio station, TV
Yeah,
stations.
it has
is
gone
there.
vital.
And I guess there's only one person who can answer it. It's a woman.
And the woman must be the person that does it. Yeah.
Because it's a woman who is doing it. It's a woman who is using Sunko.
Yeah.
Not me. Exactly. If you were to ask about why are men drunkards, well, as a man, I would give at least 70% of an answer. But if you tell me, if you ask me, why are women using Sunko, I wouldn't know. I don't know.
Because you don't do it.
Somebody told me to say, well, it enables them to have that drive. Then I'm thinking, okay, when you look at my granny used to smoke Sunko for totally different reason. But
Yeah, because like way back they used to do it for diabetes, high blood pressure, but nowadays it's vice versa. And you'll find that even someone of my age is doing it. When you ask them, they'll give you an example like, no, I'm doing it to warm my body. They give just crazy answers.
I
of
think I'll
which they are
try. I
for.
think I'll try because with this July has come with its own issues. It's pretty cold, so I'll try to utilize some Sunko and see if it can
you'll
manage
be
to
a
keep
victim
me
of
warm.
cancer, don't worry.
All right, so now going forward, what is your next target?
My next target. Right now, I have some fashion shows lined up that I'll be working for, and by the end of this year, I think I need to achieve something as well, despite from what I did last Friday. So I'm looking
What would
forward
you love to achieve by the end of this year, in the next 5 months?
in the next 5 months to have at least 2 awards again. Yeah, because one is not enough to start. Yeah, so I need to work on my catwalking thing for the runway. Yeah, and I'm looking forward because I heard there will be a workshop for models to be taught about the runway, and some beauty pageants as well. So I think I'll participate in that as well, so that at least I can upgrade myself from where I am to know more from the professionals, since they can't do it for free. This is a paying thing, so I'm ready to go for it, so that by the end of this year, I'm somewhere there. Yeah.
All right, well, Sly, thank you so much for coming through, and of course, congratulations, and
Thank
wishing you all
you.
the best in your dreams. Yeah, I
Thank
hope they're not just merely dreams, but I hope that they're
No.
workable dreams that you can work on and be able to.
They will.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today. Okay, so it's been an exciting one. I hope that you had a good time. Otherwise, I had a brilliant and of course a blast one. I'll be back tomorrow as well. Thank you so much to Mr. Kafuanka for coming through, Sly as well, and of course to our viewers. We always appreciate your time. To my director of the day, Troy, thank you so much. Good job, well done. We'll be back tomorrow for another exciting edition of Intouch. I hope that you are back home and of course focusing on what's next for the next 3 days when you'll be needed to be at the office. Just a reminder, the long weekend is done today, so you need to get back home and have enough time to rest, because tomorrow the office will be knocking at you and they'll be needing you back at the office. And I hope that you never overspend your money. I hope that you still have something. Thank you so much.